So here are the military contingency plans. There were 3. I guess we can scratch one out. This is all I'm dealing with. I'm not putting anything else on the table. So my view is we pull back into America. This is one of them. You don't need to be everywhere all the time. We do have, I guess you could say, some interest or some assets. I really just want to pull everything back into America, especially military. And then we see what happens, but we also make a declaration of world peace before we do that. I have the whole plan set up so that we see, well, what does the world really think about this, and what are they going to do? Do they even want that? Because the activity in the aftermath will reveal what people actually want, if they want it or if they don't. As of course, if people keep attacking or fighting and start targeting American interest abroad, it didn't mean anything. So the other one is I was going to, and they don't like hearing this. It's probably just like his fingernails down a chalkboard, but I was going to, because we were in a war with Islam. This is just what it is. So, and this one I guess is too extreme. Use nuclear weapons on Mecca and Medina during the Hajj pilgrimage. That ends their religion and collapses their economy. I mean, that's everything. It's just destroyed. It's over. It all made sense. I told everybody how, tit for tat. They hit our 2. I mean, those would be our 2 holy spots as a country, other than that would have the same type of impact, other than like the Statue of Liberty and some other thing, because they killed people. It was business and people. That's what we are. We're an economic powerhouse. Our country, freedom and economy, economic strength, international trade. So they hit that, and it took out a lot of our government too. So this would have been, well, here's a retaliation against your religion. That's what it was. So, I mean, back in World War II, Harry Truman did this. So without much more explanation, we all understand Hiroshima and Nagasaki were bombed. Nuclear. That was because of an attack on our military at Pearl Harbor. This one makes even more sense, and it would have been 2 nuclear weapons again. But that's okay. So I guess we scratched that one. The other one is the occupation. I'll get back to pulling everything back, because that one's about that one would be the best for our people. It would make our whole country strong. Everybody would have more money. It'd be great here. And we'd still be defended and be the military powerhouse of the world without having to invade through our Navy and our anti-aircraft, ship anti-missile, and anti-intercontinental ballistic missile research and development advancements and weaponry. There's the invasion and occupation of like Saudi Arabia, and I don't know why this is just in my head, and I guess it was the correction to the nukes. Huh? Okay, we can't use nukes, or no, it's like fine, because you messed up with Iraq and Afghanistan, and they know that, and so it would be an armored camera system, and that's all it would be. I guess I came up with the whole thing again. I don't know if we've ever had armored cameras before. I didn't look it up, but fine. In my head, I come up with my own schematics and blueprints. So it would have been an armored camera system, if that's what we do or want to do. We set it up as CCTV with the wireless integration. That's a secure relay that they could never hack into. They couldn't hack into the CCTV. And that would have protected us from, and still would if we were to do that in an occupation. Pop shots, RPGs, snipes, IEDs. It has firearm discharge alert on it. You could outfit it with some other nice little features. So that's what we needed. That's what we were missing. And then the invention of a couple new vehicles that I had in mind. And then we don't want our guys being shot. So while the camera system's being set up, the vehicles would all be armored, including the robotics arms and the mechanics of the whole thing. I don't want them getting out of their vehicles. There's no reason for us to lose military personnel needlessly if we can just cover things with armor. And if, you know, the way I was going to do an invasion was, you know, we can use the takia. It's like I can do whatever I want, and I can call it whatever I want. You could have filled up the whole Sinai, the eastern coast of Saudi, the western coast of Israel, and Palestine, and just carried out a false flag operation. Here's our Navy. Had some in there anyway, and say we're just carrying out naval exercises. They're common with the Israelis or some allies. And said, well, Palestine, Egypt, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Turkey are giving us problems in Israel. There's some type of invasion. You don't even have to say that. You could just get all the Navy in there and go overnight, just 10, 11 o'clock Riyadh time. I mean, we're talking like the whole Navy, not just, well, sometimes they get a few ships in there. All right? Because we got, like, and there's still enough power. I mean, like, this is overwhelming, something we've never done before. So we have all these naval ships in there. And they just release volley after volley after volley of cruise and Tomahawk missiles, and anything else that we have in our arsenal, any type of smart bombs or missiles. And they hit all the targets. They take out the Saudi ground bases. Of course, we don't want any aircraft getting off the ground, so all the air bases, their wireless communications, their networks, their news networks, and I'm not sure how their Navy would stand up to us, but of course you have to take out their Navy too. It'd probably be no contention. I mean, with that in mind, and this could actually be done if you just go lightning quick, bam, guys, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, and all these naval men and women are ready, and it happens. Right now, 10 p.m., it's down. It's a, what would you call it, like a preemptive order. I don't even have to give the order again. Nobody does. They just know. They're all looking at each other. Okay, 10 p.m. hits. We're doing this. It's over. I mean, Saudi Arabia would just be... we have behavioral health services parking next to me. But that's it for Saudi. We have the army bases, all their military bases, their communications. They can't get aircraft off. And, I mean, any type of land-based weapon systems that we know of, we hit, and anything that we see shooting up from satellites, etc., anti-aircraft or anti-missile fire, we just locate those, pinpoint them, and take them out in the aftermath as our missiles and armaments are being used and flying in. That was it. That's how we could have... I mean, we occupied... I don't consider it a victory. I mean, if you lose 8, 9, 10,000 people, the number keeps rising in a country, and you haven't come up in 20 years with the system to defend yourself and really secure the occupation, then you didn't do it. So that one was the annexation. You could annex the Saudi kingdom like that. So there's nothing they can do. It's, and like I said, we have so much military might and power, and I would just trade with China. I'd change the entire relationship with China. So that they're not a threat while we're doing this. They're not involved. I would just strengthen our alliance with them. I don't understand why America did this where we have to be at war with China or have friction and conflict. The stupidest thing they've ever done in history. This is the dumbest president. I mean, all of our presidents have been stupid lately, but this has got to be one of the dumbest ones too. But these are contingency plans. This doesn't mean that I would just full-fledged commit to this. But you go in, you got an army, you don't have to worry about any other countries coming in to help Saudi at this point, and all they really have is like the Middle Eastern countries. And if Iran wanted to do anything, it's like, well, if we really wanted to, I think we all know, other than if anything, they might have nuclear. Iran's not a threat. Not a realistic threat. We could just topple them just as easily as anything else, so we don't have to step foot on their ground. So we could just launch stuff navally and etc. Also at Iran, just go, well, we just crushed everything you have. We don't have to sit down. We don't have to go in your country, and I wouldn't. But once you enter Saudi territory, you're under surveillance, and it's all armored, and there's nothing you can do about it. So that brings it to an end, and they know the rest of the plan. And then there's staying home. And there's just bringing back the Army, like I said in the beginning, initially in this video. Bring back the Army, bring back the Air Force, bring back the Navy, bring back everything. I want the most minimal amount of our military equipment and assets out around the world. Declare peace, a world peace. I mean, a major issue. To declare world peace and actually do it. Will we bring all of our assets back to military's home? And we begin saving money and shaving money off the military budget. A lot of money, hundreds of billions of dollars, I would imagine, in the beginning. But what happens is we're safe. We have a Navy. You can't get to our homeland unless you pass our Navy, which has anti-aircraft, and we should outfit our coastlines and some other areas with anti-aircraft. We'll have these. It'll just be what our country understands. Well, here, what's that? It's an anti-aircraft battery. For what? Nobody can get into our homeland. We have this miracle place now that we just live at, and we don't touch anybody else in the world. We have the strongest, most powerful, and largest Navy in the history of the globe, and it will remain that way. We just keep investing into R&D and money that goes into building naval ships that are behemoths, or larger classes eventually, stronger, more outfitted with more advanced weaponry and equipment. I go, well, there's that one too, and that one sounds nice, because what it would do is we would have an economic boom. I mean, this would be a stimulus like no other in history. You're taking it from religion. I'd use the 16th. Well, you're not exempt. I'd tax religion. I go, well, give me 8 years. And they know why. I said, well, if I ever need to. I said, well, I am who I am. Well, come on, get on board. We're doing something here for about 8 years. We're going to increase the size of our Navy. We'll get our ship makers, and if we have to, we'll train more. Wherever we do this at, the guys that work on this stuff, it shouldn't be that hard. We just need the money. So we'll get it from the other departments. The Army significantly downsized. Well, I need it takes 1,100 personnel to cover the southern border, and if we wanted to do the northern too, and go, let's just make this thing really secure. We could do the northern border too and make sure that the only people that are in here are who we know of. We control the flow. So you'd have 1,100 at the southern, maybe 1,500 to 2,000 at the northern, and it depends on how many hours they work per shift. And then if they want to go out on deployments, border deployments, well, then that would, double or triple, depending on the amount of months they're out there, the number of personnel, but that's still nothing. We're talking about a military force that can have, hundreds of thousands of soldiers, and then just requesting 10,000 for the borders. If it's even that. So, and like I said, I'd outfit it real nice, the borders for our military. So it'd be sensible. So I want to go with those power plants if we come home and we stay home. I have ideas. I want to set up a camera system in our homeland then. And if it has to go armored or EMP and EMF, it will. So I would hope our civilians just accept this and don't attack it, because that costs more money. And it also reveals what's going on in our country. And, that's fine if we stop it and go, well, gee, I didn't know this much evil was happening in our homeland. It's fine if we stop it. But I would look, I'm going to give you this great place. It's going to be beautiful. We're at home. Nobody can touch us. And all of our money, everything we're doing, all of our endeavors from now on just go into defending our homeland and infusing all this money into our economy and our people. It's making things great for us. So, we could do a little bit of solar or a lot of solar. We have these power plants that were hidden. 30,000 birds died or something. So that's a trash news story, whatever that was. I want to know what the energy output was. If that thing's more efficient than solar panels and it lasts longer, we just go with that. Well, how many of these can we build? These are really cheap. Extremely cheap. Oh my gosh. So what if we just build those all over the place, it replaces all the energy, what do people have to pay anymore for electricity? That's why we defend our homeland. Well, they're going to want to be here, and people are going to become jealous, and everybody has always wanted to. It's if we could, right? If we just could, especially the Middle East, if we could just get over there. Some of these Middle Eastern, they would. If we could just get to America. So it'd be well defended. Life here would be great. Like I said, when you're talking about this causes deflation, increases the quality of life, standards of living, the cost of living, everything goes down and up in the right direction. Because electricity doesn't cost anything. I covered this yesterday. So you have all these buildings and stores, everything you could imagine, everything you look at is being powered by electricity. And so what happens if it becomes virtually free? Or just, you cut the price by 3/4, 75%. Well, this affects everything. The factories that they are powering to create products. So we go solar battery electric on the vehicles. Well, it doesn't cost gas or oil anymore. This makes things better for us. So these economists don't know what they're talking about. They never did. Trump doesn't either. They think it's about having more jobs. It's a joke. It's funny. And jobs are good, but that's just like some number that they make up in their head. It has nothing to do with what the economy actually is and how we'd be affected if we did these things. And that's what it would cause: deflation. There'd be no reason for inflation. There'd be no reason for a price increase. Everything would go down. We don't have to pay for electricity anymore. You don't have to pay for electricity anymore. That's what happens. So it's beyond what I'm explaining, because it would take a long time, but that's all you have to imagine. What uses electricity? Like everything. Okay, so none of those people really have to pay for it anymore. Okay, so why should you have to pay so much for their product? You've cut out their electricity cost. So everything should become cheaper. Now, like I said, you do the solar battery electric for vehicles, including trucks. But they don't even have to pay for gas and oil and engine repairs or anything that comes out of their company's expenses for all of that. So if you really wanted to go crazy with it and see deeper into the future, or we could even accomplish this now, you could have these trucks self-driven and automated. You don't even have to pay the truck drivers. Well, what does this do for us? It makes everything cheaper. So this would be a constitutional redistribution of the wealth, and we could get people involved in those industries rather than being a truck driver. Like, go work in the solar energy or industry or something over here. And it doesn't matter to me if we have a high unemployment rate, but the quality of living goes up and the cost of living goes down. Because we also have, we can mix stuff. And we've heard other candidates. Well, there's Andrew Yang. He goes, well, I can just start throwing money out to people, because the economy can handle it. Nothing's changing. There wouldn't be a destabilization. I didn't close down hamburger restaurants and Doritos factories and Pepsis. It's not like I did that. I didn't destabilize anything. I made electricity cheaper. I killed a bunch of jobs and increased the quality of living and decreased the cost of living. And went, well, here's the money to do it with, too. So you could figure out, if it's depending on how much we're able to save in such an economy. There's also a desalination plant I have in mind and a few other ideas. And this eliminates the crime, and eventually you can decrease the amount of police officers you have in your police forces. We don't have to pay them. This saves millions of dollars every year too. So we just have all this money coming out of nowhere all of a sudden, all at once. Wow! And yes, it's fungible. You can just give it to people now. Well, because why? Well, police officers were already making money, so they were already buying things. We're not changing anything. We just have millions of more dollars. Okay, here you go. Well, you're no longer a police officer. You get a retirement pay, which is less money. And eventually, we don't even have retirement pay because generations go on, the next decade or two. The old police officers die naturally. We don't have to hire new police officers. We just have some surveillance investigators, maybe a couple people that go out and make arrests, and a few people that are around for response time and traffic. But if we can, like I said, with the DUIs, we can just go with self-driven vehicles. There's no command over the country, or there's no care for these topics. Because this should be a serious issue. They go, what do we do? And they just warn people, drunk driving, and they talk about all this stuff, but nobody goes, what's the sensible answer, the real answer? What can we do? And they don't talk about it, and they don't tell anybody, so people don't think this way. So I open up people's minds to what we can do. And that's what we could do with the military. So those are 3 military options. And personally, I go, gee, I don't know. I'm torn. I like all of them. But if I just cared about my people and my people only, and I just let's make world peace and come home, this place would be, it always has been the most powerful. It'd be the greatest place on the face of the earth. Everybody'd want to come here. There'd be nobody in the world like that. They have free electricity, pretty much. We'll figure out how much these produce. The electricity costs, water's purified automatically and or free. When they can finally figure that out, where's the Army at? goes to the military. They have the border secured, like, but you gotta, yeah, the crime's going. And we're protected when we go there. They have to get past anti-aircraft, anti-missile, ship anti-missile, the Navy. You can't land, like, how are they gonna, you gotta make landfall if you want to invade America. So, this would be a transformation of the military and our economy, and it would be quickly. So those would be my I have 3 contingency plans. I mean, because you're the commander-in-chief, it involves the military, everything you do, including the national economy and everything else in the country, the laws, and they know how I bind the unity of the states back together. It's falling apart into like a division, and that's through the 9th and the 10th working closely together. Because that's the problem. I found it and I resolved it. So we got an interstate 10th Amendment conflict, and they're trying to secede. It's all over the place, and we need a camera system. Crime's all over the place. Our government's going corrupt. So these are the answers and solutions, realistically, sensibly, to your country, and those would be my military contingency plans. I would hope, I mean, geez, it depends on what you guys want. I would hope that you choose the latter. The one that I began with and the one that I ended with, the peace. We come home and we can just infuse our domestic economy with all this new money and personnel, tax religion, and go, look what we did to our country overnight. Because like I said, as always, what can we do? We are an atheocracy. We may create no law in respect to the establishment of religion, like the establishment of religious practice. That's what we have the freedom to do and not establish as law. So we can't establish religion. But this makes us like the country of God. We have every religion here practicing freely, growing, spurring, ripening. Thick, juicy. And then every once in a while, if you need to, so this is what God did for our country, you can go, let's throw some taxes on that for 8 years. Let's make a transformation. Or just now. God's like, here's my master plan. Just once. Do this for like 8 years. Bring the military home, transform everything. You have all this extra money to do whatever you need to do to fix this country and make things right. So, and you can have wings. Freedom to practice religion. You can fly. God said so.